everyone, and welcome to my podcast. Stacy personally speaking. Yes, I'm still in Japan, where my thoughts become known on this blog. This is this is season 1, episode 177 of the Journey 365 series. Today's episode is about no wiggle room, fear of heights, a sea of death, and camp night. I used the bathroom after 5 o'clock this morning, then went back to bed. But I was fully awake, and I knew it. My heart rate had been steadily increasing since last week, and I wasn't too keen on that. But I'm sure I knew why. I started my devotions after 6 o'clock and got that reminder that God is wonderful, but we should not make any mistakes to think that He will share His glory with anyone. Thus saith the Lord, the King of Israel, and his Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. I am the first, and I am the last, and beside me there is no God. Isaiah 44, verse 6 of the King James Version. After my devotions, I did some back stretches as I could feel my back and neck becoming tight again. Following that, I made sure to have my shower even before making my smoothie. I thought it was important to get those nutrients in and not the bread and cabbage I had planned before. Once my smoothie was ready, I put on most of my work clothes, including pants this time, and sat by my work computer. It seemed as though I had a lot of time, and so I spent some of it deleting the duplicated imports on WordPress. Seems I overdid it and deleted some unrecorded April posts. At almost 9:30 this morning, I packed the cooler box with mostly frozen items. I was tempted to wait until 9:45, but that would be cutting it too close. I took everything out of the fridge and packed them in another bag. And then I got a great idea. The fridge was now empty, and there was enough space for the whole bag once I reorganized the shelf. And so I did just that. So the cool items stayed in the fridge until I was leaving my apartment. Smart, right? I was off the computer at 11:44 and through the door by 11:50. It was no joke with my backpack, cooler box, and another heavy bag in my hand. I got the 12:04 bus and managed to toss the 2 loose bags in the corner seat before settling down with my backpack, trying to calmly get it off my back without any disruptions in the bus. Things went well, and I had enough time to walk to the station, charge my pass, and wait another 4 minutes for the train. I had another 20 minutes to get to my second job. Thankfully, it was lunchtime when I got there. And guess what I had for lunch? Yup, yesterday's order that I received while I was over my friend's apartment. Unfortunately, there was no microwave. No microwave. Not even a hot water dispenser. And so I had to eat the food cold. It was still quite delicious. I spent too much time exchanging pleasantries, and by the time I started eating, my direct supervisor came. He's pretty cool though, and so I could continue eating while catching up with him. We always have a good time catching up. I had 2 classes of elderly retired women who seemed to enjoy my class. And then there was a break which I used to finish my lunch. For some reason, like me lick me head, I had put the food into the fridge. So it was so much colder than at the beginning. Oh, Stace. I had another student and then a much longer break. I felt really tired, but for some reason, I wanted to explore the area a little because it was new to me. After looking at Google Maps, I turned left from my office and walked toward the green area. The green area. I was entranced by the architecture of the nearby university. To get a better view, I decided to go up the bridge, to climb up on the bridge that was nearby. But I realized that I was afraid of heights. This bridge was really high in the air and across the roadway. I clearly haven't had enough exposure to heights, but I braved the climb. It was so beautiful and the angle perfectly lit by the sun of the building that I was looking at. I found myself walking through a cemetery after that. It was like a sea of death. Cemeteries are also huge in Japan, as you can imagine, with a population of over 126 million people, compared to what I'm used to seeing in Jamaica. I wasn't seeing any green areas though, as the map was showing, and so I started to make my way back. When I returned to work from my mini walking tour, I still had an hour and a half to go, but my sinuses had been aggravated. I suspected it might have been from walking through areas after the cemetery filled with marble dust. That was my conclusion because that's when it started getting unbearable. I walked past many marble memorial stones, if that's what they're called. I noticed that most of the shops surrounding the cemetery sold products specifically for the cemetery. The marble stones, things to clean them, and flowers to leave on days of visitation by families. My next class started at 7:15 that evening. I was finally finished at last because the last student had called and cancelled. Yes. I was feeling so tired though, but I couldn't sleep during that 2-hour break I'd had. Crazy, right? I know. Originally, my friend was supposed to pick me up from work, and I thought since they'd wanted to leave earlier, that would have made more sense. Instead, I found myself with my heavy bags traveling to their apartment. I didn't ask for any reason for the change, even though I was trying to make sense out of it. I was tired and I didn't have the strength to fish for information. Turns out they wanted to catch the toll road from a certain section. At least that's what I deduced from it. I'm hoping to have a good camping experience after all the setbacks endured for this first one. As I walked towards the parking lot of their apartment, I noticed some flashers. When I entered, I saw they were already by the vehicle, navigating it out the parking lot. That was a welcome sign as my arms were about to fall off. They said they were planning to come to meet me at the station. We set off for our destination and got there in less than an hour because we took the toll route. Once we got to the area by the river, we had the task of offloading the vehicle and walking down to the river, making several trips to get everything to the riverside. It was a long night. I spent some time trying to clear the area for my tent and setting it up because it was so stony and sandy. This was the second time that I was setting up this tent, but the first time I would be using it. Initially, I had set up the tent in my apartment room when I had just gotten it. It was my first tent, and I was excited to see how it worked. We finished setting up our tents after 11 p.m. You can imagine we were hungry, and so one person made some food for everyone, and I really appreciated that. We had beef patties, not Jamaican patties, very small beef patties with bread. It was a really long night, and when I finally got into my tent, I spent another hour almost arranging inside my tent. I had so many bags, and it annoyed me a bit to think that the biggest bags I had seemed so small and insignificant now. I almost wish I had packed a suitcase instead. My friend had suggested bringing things inside the tent to prevent animals from being attracted to our area. Only my cooler box could close completely, and it didn't make sense to leave it out. It was an exhilarating first camp night experience. I got a Coleman sleeping bag to help separate the slightly rocky area from my sleeping bag while my friends used an air mattress. It was a cozy time until I started feeling like the princess and the pea. I went to bed sometime after 1 a.m., tired but thrilled. Thank you so much for journeying with me on today's entry. Please support me by leaving a comment below or sharing this with someone who might enjoy the journey. Have you ever been camping before? Follow my blog at stacypersonallyspeaking.wordpress.com to get posts directly into your inbox. Thank you as always for joining me, and stay safe.